You know what, I know this is beginning to sound like a broken record. I'm always talking to folks about our responsibilities as citizens in these United States of America, but the fact is, nothing comes for free. And if something is really important to you, you know about it, you protect it, you're always vigilant about how that thing that's important to you is doing. I'm going to say to you today that we have got to do that same thing on steroids when it comes to voting. Voting is changing, the requirements, the eligibility to vote is changing around this country in ways, some really obvious and some fairly insidious. But at the end of the day, what is happening is that it is becoming more and more difficult to vote. People have lost their lives in the effort to vote. People have lost their dignity. People have been hurt in ways that are without words to describe, all to allow us the right to vote. And we really have to keep that in mind. In so many ways, we are taking steps backwards. There's legislation in some states that will not allow water to be given to people who are waiting in line to vote. Come on now. The idea that you would have your right to vote interfered with, and remember, it's a right, it is not a privilege, to be interfered with without standing up and saying no, is a pretty frightening thing. We have the president of the League of Women Voters with us on this week's show, and she reminded us that the changes in Ohio law include things like no curbside voting, like no using utility bills as proof of your right to vote. And so those changes will be significant to many of us. So you know what? Please make sure that you do what's necessary to protect this right. Call your Board of Elections. If you have questions, they will certainly walk you through it. But I'll tell you what you shouldn't do. You shouldn't do is do nothing. You must really be active and, again, vigilant if you want to sustain this right to have a voice in the way your country is being run. Thanks so much. I'll see you next time on To the Point.